Hello, everybody. This is Bernie Strum, welcome to my YouTube channel for today's Diamond Legends Baseball. You caught me just in time to import the manager file of Philadelphia. Philadelphia manager file is updated. Got it in just in time before we get going. And here we are. Philly leads by 5.5 over Vegas, 6.5 over Manchester, Crystal Lake 7, Edmonton 8. All 5 teams are in the race in the Sandlot and Crackerjack, Texas, running away with it. Tampa Bay, Carolina, and Lehigh fighting for the playoff spots. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sim to the end of the month, and then on the 3rd, I'll check on the 29th, 30th, 31st. If there's a game that is relevant, we'll play it. If not, we will sim it out and leave it to Steve to finish off September and pick the games he wants to play. Without any further ado, Edmonton at Mass. Edmonton wins, goes a game above 500. Lehigh at Philadelphia. Lehigh wins 8-2. Carlton over Sabathia. Gary at Tampa Bay. Gary wins 7-5. Pierce over Burdett. Manchester at Kremlin. Kremlin 6-1 winners. Sutton over McGregor. Texas at Crystal Lake. Crystal Lake 5-4 winners. Guidry over Johnson. Carolina at Vegas. Vegas wins 9-2. Seaver over McLeish. And the second game of the doubleheader, Texas beats Crystal Lake. They split. We go on to the 17th. Edmonton at Massachusetts. 2-1 Edmonton. Edmonton making a run for the playoffs. Bonham over Brown in 11 innings. Lehigh at Philadelphia. Philly wins 6-5. Bonham over Adams. Carolina at Vegas. Vegas loses. Carolina wins 7-4. Chandler over Ford. Where we are. Okay, Gary at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay 12-3 winners. Pizarro over Donovan. Manchester at the Kremlin. Kremlin 7-6 winners. Jackson over Tomlin. Edmonton at Massachusetts. Second game of a doubleheader. They win 3 in a row, 3-2 in 12 innings. Joss over Drago. Texas at Crystal Lake. Crystal Lake wins 14-2 in game 1. In game 2, Texas gets even 3-2. They split. We head to the 18th. After this one game, Gary at Tampa Bay, where Tampa Bay wins 18-0. We move to the 19th. Checking down here, Philadelphia remains 5.5 ahead of Vegas. Edmonton now in the third playoff spot, 6.5 back, but Crystal Lake and Manchester close by. Texas, 11 over Tampa Bay. Carolina in third place with a 4.5 game lead over Lehigh. Edmonton's run, and they win 2-1. Leonard over Sutcliffe. Tampa Bay at Manchester. Tampa Bay wins 3-2. Carpenter over Matheson, now 20-13. Lehigh at Gary, 10-5. Lehigh Espinoza over Frost. Philly at home against Carolina. Philly wins 7-6. Hume over Grant. Mass at Crystal Lake. Crystal Lake pounds the ball 17-6, beating Massachusetts. And Texas loses to Vegas 8-6. Brown over Jenkins. No change in the Sandlot. We go to the 20th. Edmonton at home and continues their winning streak. They're 3-1. They're now 5 games over 500 in third place. Tampa Bay at Manchester. Tampa Bay wins 6-5. Manchester falls to a game below 500. Lehigh at Gary. Lehigh 5-2 winners. Carolina on the road at Philadelphia. Philly wins 10-6. Maintains their 6-game lead. Mass at Crystal Lake 3-1. Massachusetts slows down Crystal Lake a little bit. And Texas on the road at Vegas. Vegas wins 8-2. Randy Johnson over Medich. We head to the 24th. It does not the only team moving. Looks like it's Edmonton. Crystal Lake at home against Mass wins 4-0. Guidry over Humphreys. Kremlin at Edmonton. Edmonton wins again. They've got quite a streak going. I don't know how many in a row, but they'll tell us pretty soon. Manchester loses to Tampa Bay. Carolina at Philadelphia. Carolina wins 11-4. McLeish over Sabathia. Texas at Vegas, and Texas wins 3-2. So that remains the same. Edmonton and Vegas tied for second place in the Sandlot. We head to the 22nd. Edmonton against Lehigh. Edmonton continues to win. I don't know how many wins in a row, but they're now 7 games above 500. Tampa Bay at Gary. It's 5-0 Tampa Bay. Mass at Vegas. Mass beats them 7-2. Vegas drops into third place. Edmonton in second place in the division. Kremlin at Manchester. Kremlin beats them 5-4. Jones over Stewart. Texas at Philadelphia. Texas 4-1 winners. Carolina at Crystal Lake. 1-0. Clemens wins over Chandler. Shutout. Tampa Bay is shut out by Gary. And Massachusetts at Vegas, game 2. Vegas wins 3-1. We head to the 23rd. Carolina at Tampa Bay. We'll check who's hot and who's not after this one. Crystal Lake 19-5. They're pounding the ball. Edmonton continues their winning streak. They are now 8 games above in second place. Could they win the division? That would be something, wouldn't it? Kremlin at Manchester. Manchester wins 4-2. Matheson's 21st. Gary at home against Tampa Bay. They beat Tampa Bay 9-3. Texas at Philadelphia. Texas wins 5-4. And Mass at Vegas. Vegas wins 5-4 in 11 innings. Let's do what Steve likes to do. Let's do the who's hot and who's not. I can't wait to see how many games in a row Edmonton's won. They are 9-1. They have a 9-game winning streak going, and they're 3.5 games behind Philly. Vegas 4. Crystal Lake is 5 games back, and Manchester 8.5. Once again, 7-3. Crystal Lake's hot, 9-1, and no one's hotter than Edmonton. Texas 6-4. And Tampa Bay 7-3. Everybody else is about normal. Okay, let's continue. Can Edmonton win 10 in a row? Yes, they can. 7-3 over Lehigh. Kremlin at Manchester. 11-6. Kremlin beats them. Sutton over Flanagan. Tampa Bay also hot, but Gary slows them down. 6-4. Pierce over Carpenter. Carolina at Crystal Lake. 13-7. Carolina. Maddox over John. Massachusetts at Vegas, and they beat them by a run. Eckersley over Larson. Edmonton's second game of a doubleheader. Edmonton now has won 11 in a row. They're only 2.5 games behind Philadelphia. Texas at Philadelphia. Philly wins 8-5. We go to the 25th. Edmonton, will they win 12 in a row? They do. 12-game winning streak. We are off to the 26th. Let me take a sip of water here. Philly at Massachusetts. They win 5-4. 11 innings. Grover's 19th win. Edmonton finally lose. Tampa Bay beats them 6-2. It's the end of their 12-game winning streak. Kershaw took the loss. Lehigh at Manchester. 4-2 Lehigh. Manchester continues their fall. Crystal Lake at Texas. 4-0 Crystal Lake. Guidry over Johnson. Kremlin at Gary. 6-1 Gary. Donovan over Mizell. Vegas at Carolina. Vegas wins 6-3. Johnson over Wilhelm. Lehigh at Manchester, they shut them out, win 2 games today. And Crystal Lake in the second game beats Texas 3-2. Off to the 27th. Philly at Massachusetts. Mass wins 2-0. Cole over Sabathia. Will Edmonton start a new winning streak? They do, 4-1. Joss with their 18th win. Lehigh at Manchester, 6-5. Manchester continues to lose, this time in 13 innings. Kremlin at Gary, 3-0. Kremlin beats them. Vegas at Carolina. Carolina wins 3-1. And Texas at home against Crystal Lake. Crystal Lake wins 2-0. The 26th, as we glance down, Texas 9.5 ahead. Carolina 3 games ahead of Lehigh for the 3rd spot. Crystal Lake has moved ahead of Vegas. Vegas is out of the playoffs by a half a game. They're 5 games back. Edmonton in 2nd place and Crystal Lake in 3rd place now, 4.5 back. Philly at Massachusetts. Mass wins 8-1. Brown over Norman. Tampa Bay at Edmonton. Tampa Bay wins 4-0. Lehigh at Manchester. They beat them again. Lehigh sweeps Manchester. Espinoza over Flanagan. Kremlin at Gary, 7-0. Sutcliffe over Frost. And Vegas at Carolina. Carolina beats them as Vegas and Manchester continue to drop in the standings. It looks like it could be Philly, Edmonton, and Crystal Lake in the playoffs. We head to the 29th. Edmonton at Kremlin. They win again, 3-2. As they're chasing Philadelphia. Crystal Lake at Massachusetts, 8-2, Crystal Lake. Philly at Carolina, 3-1, Carolina. Edmonton goes to within a game and a half. Gary at Lehigh, 4-3, Lehigh. Manchester at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay beats Manchester. Manchester now 11 out. And Vegas at Texas. Vegas wins 4-2. Seaver over Lee. On the 30th, what do we got on the 31st? Is there a game to play? Well, I don't know. I'm just going to sim them. We'll leave the games to be played to Steve. We'll have an interesting final month. Let me make sure I'm on the right days. Crystal Lake at Mass, 5-4 Crystal Lake. Gary at Lehigh, 11-10 Lehigh. Edmonton at Kremlin. Edmonton 1 game out. Unbelievable. Philly at Carolina. Carolina wins 13-3. And Manchester at Tampa Bay. Manchester finally wins a game. They go win 5-4. And the last day of the month, as the Sandlot division is bunched, all 4 teams at the top of the division are within 3.5 games of one another. Texas 8.5 ahead, and Carolina 3 ahead of Lehigh. But here we go, last day of the month of August. 1-0 Crystal Lake in game 1. Philly at Carolina. Carolina squeaks by Philly in 11 innings, 11-10. Gary at Lehigh, 10-1 Gary. Manchester at Tampa Bay, 11-3 Tampa Bay. Will Edmonton take over first place? They will with a win, and they got it. Edmonton in first place by a half a game over Philadelphia. How do you like that? Crystal Lake at Massachusetts. Mass wins 7-6. There's a doubleheader here. Vegas at Texas in game 1. Texas wins 7-6. In game 2, Vegas wins 5-0. And there you go. There's the month of August. Let's take a look at those standings in the report. Unbelievable. Someone ought to call Jeff. Maybe he wants to take his team over. He's in first place by a half a game. He went 8-2. Philly went 2-8. They're a half game behind Edmonton. Crystal Lake went 8-2. They're 2 games behind Edmonton. And Vegas went 5-5. They are 3.5 games out. That's quite a race. So looking forward to September. The Crackerjack, David's in good shape with Texas, 8 games ahead of Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, 3 games ahead of Carolina, and Carolina, 4 games ahead of Lehigh. Steve Tate, what the heck? You're absolutely correct. Unbelievable. This has probably been the best race I've ever seen in the Sandlot. I don't know if we've had a closer one than 3.5 games entering the month of September. The only 2 teams that appear to be out of it are Manchester and Gary. Anyway, thanks for checking in. I'll zip this up. Steve can take it over tomorrow. If he wants to do the whole month of September, he can. If not, I'll finish it out if he only wants to do the first 2 weeks. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for stopping in. That was fun. For not playing a game, it was fun. I can tell you that much. See you at Discord.